Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Draw Control podcast. On today's episode, I'm joined by Jemma Thompson, who is a player on the England U20 World Women's Lacrosse team. In the 7 games that she played, Jemma caused 3 turnovers and won a draw control. Jemma currently plays for the Berkhamsted School, and we're so excited to have her on the podcast so we can share stories like hers from players from England and different countries. So, welcome to the podcast, and how is everything going?
Hi, yeah, everything's going really well. I'm literally in my first week at uni this week, so this is like my second proper day, so it's really fun. Lots going on, but excited.
That's good. That's good. Well, I hope college is going well for yourself. Where are you attending?
Thank you. I'm at the University of Exeter.
Nice, nice.
You're feeling old now.
Do you plan on playing lacrosse there, I assume?
Yeah, yeah. So I've just come back from training.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. That's awesome. So, I guess I want to start off this podcast sort of talking about the beginning of your lacrosse career and sort of working all the way up for to where you are today. So, I apologize if I butchered this name, but you're from Great Missenden, UK.
Yeah.
So, talk about growing up there and how did you start playing lacrosse?
No, that is how you pronounce it. You did well.
Thank you, thank you.
So I was born in Great Missenden, which is a really small rural area, very friendly community, not busy like your typical London area where a lot of my teammates are now from. And I went to a small primary school in Great Missenden, and I just immersed myself with a full range of sports. So I originally played football, netball, hockey, and track was my main sport until I was 12. And then I joined Berkhamsted, and that's when I found lacrosse and started to actually play.
Nice. Who were some of your lacrosse role models growing up?
So actually at Berkhamsted, so when I was 12 in year 13, which is like your senior year, if you might, I had Emma Savage and like Sophia Wise, who are actually in the England senior team now, who I always looked up to and was like, wow, look, I want to go to the World Cup like Emma Savage did. How can I get there? And I just watched them playing from a school level, and they were absolute inspirations to me. Emma Oakley as well, England senior captain now, also went to my school. So having the role models literally in the same changing rooms where I was getting ready for my games is really really cool.
Was it cool to see them win the European Championship a couple
Yeah,
last month?
yeah, it really was.
Now, like you mentioned, you recently played for Berkhamsted School, so I'm just curious. Obviously, I'm not familiar with the process. So, what
Yeah.
is the process like for joining that team in that school? And how did you sort of get to play lacrosse there?
Yeah, so it's a really sporty school. So it's why I went there originally. I got given a sports scholarship for athletics, and then I started playing lacrosse in my first year, and not thinking I'd enjoy it that much. And then obviously, the more I played it, the more I really seemed to enjoy it and get better at. And there was 20 different teams, and it doesn't really start getting competitive until your last three kind of senior years. So I made the first team. Um, I don't, do you call it varsity in America?
Yeah, in
Yeah,
high school it's varsity, and then
yeah,
college it's just regular team.
exactly. So I made that 3 years young, and I was just playing with some amazing girls um, from the school who like made lacrosse, you know, I actually started to realize I want to play this competitively. This is really fun. I'm loving the intensity. And then that's when I definitely knew that I wanted to carry on with lacrosse because Berkhamsted was just really great for it.
And for those who don't know, just describe what Berkhamsted's like. Who are some of the players you got to play with? Who coached you? And who are some of the teams that you played against as well?
Yeah, so Berkhamsted lacrosse, basically the first team we would train three times a week, as well as being in the gym doing S&C. A lot of girls will be doing, multi-sports, um, playing with people like Morley Light, Ellie Martin. So they're a year older than me. So they went to Berkhamsted with me, and I'd play with them weekly. So it was really fun that they carried on with the England program as well. And I had some great coaches like Asher Riley, who was an ex-England player, coaching me, and Tom Burgess, who was my S&C coach. They've all played significant roles in my development in school, whilst also coaching me out school as well.
Now, what was your favorite memory with Berkhamsted on the field when you look back on it now?
So we have this event called Stone X, and uh, Stone X is basically this rugby stadium near London. So we basically had the opportunity to play as a lacrosse team on this rugby fit pitch, and our game was like live streamed. The whole school came and watched, and we played Morton Hall, who were national champions last year, and we drew, which was really good. But it was more so the experience of the whole game being streamed, and lacrosse at a schoolgirl level being displayed and advertised. It's really fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is there a difference, I guess, between a pitch for rugby versus a lacrosse pitch?
Yeah, very, very different. We did have to use like cones and lines to make do with it because obviously they don't play behind goal, etc., and the pitch is a bit wider. But we made it work. It was worth it.
That's good. That's good. Well, how do you think your experience with Berkhamsted sort of helped prepare you for the U20 World Championships?
So this year, Berkhamsted were really good at preparing me because I had my exams whilst also training for the World Cup. So A levels are like the last exams you do over here before you go to university. So obviously had to prioritize my academics as well as the World Cup. But my S&C coach Tom Burgess was great at helping me look at my timetable and being really flexible with me, so I could choose when to go to the gym around my exams, which is obviously an athlete's dream, being able to do both effectively. So Berkeley were really good at helping me balance my academics with my World Cup training.
Yeah, I think that's a skill that a lot of athletes have to learn over the years is just sort of balancing the academics and lacrosse part. So the fact that they made it easier for yourself, that's definitely really
Yeah,
awesome that they let you do that.
it's great.
Now let's transition and talk about the U20 World Championships. So how does the selection process work for Team England, and where were you when you found out you were going to Hong Kong?
So over the last 2 years, we've been training as an England academy, with lots and lots of girls around the country, and then the last since January, we broke the squad down into the World Cup training squad. And we went to tour in Florida with 40 girls, and we played some American teams. It was a great experience. And then in April, we found out the 22 who were going to Hong Kong. And I was actually in the gym, and I came back from the gym, and my mum was in the kitchen. And I promised I'd wait to open the email with her, and it was 6:59, and I was thinking, okay, when's this email coming through, when's this email coming through, and then it pinged up on my phone, and we were anticipating it, and then I clicked the email, and then I saw my name, and then we both just burst into tears because all that hard work, and it was amazing to actually see it all pay off.
Now, what was your experience like in Hong Kong off the field? I would assume that you've never been there before, so I'm just curious what it was like visiting there for the first time.
Yeah, so immediate feelings were, oh my gosh, this is so warm. The humidity was crazy. So for the first few days, we were kind of, acclimatizing, getting used to the really hot weather. But we have such a great team bond. So we did loads of, team bonding sessions, going out. We did a lot of shopping, which was fun. Obviously, Hong Kong was so, so busy. So we had to, watch where we were going and not get too lost. And we had a really good boat trip on the first day on the harbour. And Hong Kong is just a beautiful city. So it was really nice to do some tourist activities as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it looked like a really nice city, especially I thought it was kind of cool that the one of the stadiums that you played in was like right in the middle of the city too. Like
Yeah, you
usually
could
it's
see
like
all the buildings.
yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. I feel like most stadiums it's sort of like off somewhere like sort of in a di where an area where you can like park and sort of walk to it. But it was kind of cool that was like right in the middle of the city. I feel like you never really see that anymore.
Yeah, I know. It was probably the coolest place I've ever played. Yeah.
Now, from your perspective, what was like the biggest thing that you think you improved on the most throughout the U20 World Championships?
I'd have to say mental resilience. I think in a major championships, being able to cope with the highs and lows was really important for me. And especially after the first loss, I took it really to heart. But then throughout the competition, you've got your teammates around you, you start to realize what works for you. So really working on my mental game and resilience throughout the competition, um, you know, trying to test myself and keep positive. I think that really improved.
Now, in group play, your team played well, winning 3 out of 4 games. What would you say was your team's key to success in the group stage?
In the group stages, I think we played so well because we just enjoyed every minute of it. Our coach Vic would always say to us, "You play your best when you're having fun." So we'd go into our group stage games and be like, "Look, like let's just put everything out there on the pitch, everything that we've trained for, but not putting too much pressure on ourselves as well, and just playing for each other, giving everyone, opportunities to thrive and have fun." And that's exactly what we did.
Your team then lost to Japan, which ended your team's chances at winning a medal in the tournament. What made Japan such a good opponent from your perspective as a defender? Because from talking to other players, they were saying how there was sort of a unique style of how they defended. And what did you take away, I guess, from that loss as well?
Yeah. So Japan are, yeah, they do have a very unique style. They are just such a well-drilled side. Like they did not drop a single ball. Their hustle was immaculate, and they could just hold the ball for, a whole quarter. They had a very, very good uh draw taker that they'd come up with the draws all the time, and we found it hard on the circle to beat them. So we obviously had to adapt to their play, but by the time we adapted to their play, the score line had already gone too far. Um, but I definitely say, we didn't expect them to be, so good. They've developed their game so well. So seeing them win a medal was so great, because obviously it's easier to say that because we lost to them. But to see that their game has grown so much, it's great for women's lacrosse on a global level.
Now, you ended the tournament by beating Italy and then losing to Puerto Rico. Talk about those games from your perspective and what your team learned from those games as well. And I guess tr how do you sort of reflect on sort of the way the tournament ended in those 2 games?
Yeah, so Italy, we actually played last year in the European Championships. So they're a side that we knew a bit better as a side. So we played Italy after we lost to Japan. So defensively, we were really fired up. We wanted to win, and we came out really, really hard against them, and we pressured them, and which inevitably led us to the win. And then Puerto Rico, we were really disappointed at, because we wanted to end our tournament um, with a win. And they just came out hard. They played a really fast style of lacrosse, which was obviously really fun because the scoreline kept changing. But by the end of the game, like defensively, we were just so tired, so run down, because they were absolutely rapid, and we just tried everything, within the last quarter to change the scoreline. But after having such a great tournament, we did end on a high because we all had each other at the end of the game.
I like that perspective. I think that's really good perspective to have, especially since if you think about it, not everyone can sort of play in that tournament and it's so hard to make the team. So I think that accomplishment itself is something to definitely be proud of. At least that's the way I would look at it.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, you were coached by Vic Alexander, so what was it like being coached by that person and just the rest of the coaching staff in the tournament?
Yeah, so we've had Vic as our coach now for 2 years, and she's just been so amazing. She's so optimistic, and throughout our highs and lows, she was always there for us. And our coaching staff did so well at having daily meetings, keeping us all in the loop, and analyzing all of our performances. We did loads of, video analysis, and um, just breaking down our defense and attack so that we were so ready for each game, dependent on specific teams like Japan and Ireland. Our game strategy was so different, and they did so well at organizing us for that. we had in our defensive unit Emma Adams, who's an ex-England player, ex-England captain as well. So having her as a role model as well as a coach, it was an absolute honor. And they all of the coaching staff did so well to keep us alive basically after that tournament.
Now, what was it like playing with other great defenders like Honor Ashby and Lois Crilly? And did you learn anything from them just by being their teammate and being in the same unit as them for the week that you're in Hong Kong?
Yeah, so definitely Lois and Honor being defenders as well. And them being older than me, they really helped me. You know, when I had lows, they were like sisters, and honestly, the tournament made me closer than them than ever. It has brought us all to be best friends, and they're actually playing at my uni with me now. So it's so nice to know that I had them before I even, stepped out on the field. They're always so kind and supportive on and off the pitch. And, I have learned a lot off them and watching them play.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Did you guys talk about, the upcoming university season? I assume when you first met them, like
Yeah,
once you knew you were gonna go be on the team and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, exactly. So Honor's actually captain here at Exeter. So, they were trying to recruit me for the whole year, and I was like, yeah, yeah, I'll come. And then obviously I came.
You got to do that, especially if if you have a great teammate that hasn't decided where they're going yet. You got to do everything you can to make sure that they're going to be on your team. You got to think ahead a little bit too.
Exactly. It's very much like that because obviously in our team we had other girls who were trying to get us to go to their unis as well.
Now, what will you take away from your experience at the U20 World Championships, looking back on it now?
Being part of the World Championship was the best sporting experience so far for me. And despite not having the outcome and the medal game that we wanted, being a part and playing in a different continent and a different culture against the best players in the world and seeing the standard of lacrosse grow so much, it's really inspired and motivated me to continue to work hard and just push for that next thing and just, continue to play lacrosse and hope that it grows even further.
Now, I know we didn't talk about these questions before, but I do want to ask, I wasn't aware of this, but what made you sort of want to go to the University of Exeter and just talk about that decision and just sort of what's been your experience there like? I know it's only been 2 days, but I'm just curious what university is like in England compared to the US.
Yeah. So university in England, obviously it's pretty much the same in terms of academics, but our sport is treated very, differently. So there's kind of three main universities, I'd say, for lacrosse, and that would be University of Exeter, University of Nottingham, and University of Durham. And I was stuck between all three of them. Um, it's hard because I had teammates from all of the universities, but I think what stuck out to me at Exeter was the people and the culture, as well as obviously the course politics, which I'm studying. And I also have an amazing coach, Mike Molster, who is head of the England lacrosse over here. So knowing that I'm going to university and being coached by the best every day and with the best people, I just thought this would give me the best opportunity to grow as a player.
Now, let's transition to a segment I like to call the non-lacrosse segment, where I ask you some
Yeah.
non-lacrosse questions to get to know you more off the field. And I'll give you some of my answers too, and we'll hopefully have a fun conversation during the
Yeah.
segment. So,
Yeah, go
first
for it.
one is this is a question I can't answer, but you can. Who is the funniest teammate on the England lacrosse team?
This was a really hard one, because everyone's funny in their own unique way. But our captain, Anna Green, she's she's this is really mean, but she's from up north, so she obviously has a different accent to all of us. And sometimes some of the words she says comes out really funny, and she's also the clumsiest person ever. She'd literally fall over every single game and we made compilation videos of her just falling over on pitch. And she's just a great laugh.
What's the difference between an accent from someone up north versus someone in London, I guess?
I mean, it's just very broad and they just say some words a bit funny. So down south we say like bath and class, and then up north they might be like bath and class.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to do an impression because I'm not that good at
No, I
accents.
know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like I remember I was watching this interview with the guys in Oasis and like I could barely
Yeah,
understand some of
yeah.
the words they were saying and I'm like I also speak English, but it's yes it's because they have a
Yeah,
very
the
thick
Gallagher's, the
accent from
yeah.
Manchester, which is different compared to other cities in England. So I thought that was I think it's interesting because I think some people think like oh in America there's so many different accents, but it's the same way in England as well, which I found pretty interesting and unique.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, which teammate has the best style off the field?
Probably have to say Grace Connor only because she let me borrow all of her clothes. Because I was literally I overpacked so much for Hong Kong but didn't bring like the right attire because it was just too hot.
No, I can't imagine being in that humidity. I like it much more cooler. At least that's in my opinion. I prefer the cool instead of
Yeah.
the heat because I feel like it's much easier to sort of warm yourself up if you're chilly versus trying to cool yourself down when you're really hot.
Yeah, we would come off the pitch and literally my mum would give me a hug and she'd be like, "Have you had a shower? Why is your shirt so wet?" I'd be like, "No, it's just sweat, sorry."
Yeah. Now, you obviously went to Hong Kong this year, so where is one place you would love to travel to one day?
I'd have to say LA. I absolutely love the States, but I've only been to the East Coast and I just want to see the West Coast because it looks really fun.
Yeah. I think I've only been one place in the West Coast, but it was in LA, so I can't give you any travel tips what that's like. But I prefer the East Coast more. I feel like there's more stuff to do, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah,
I would say for me, Canada would be super cool. I would love to visit there, especially Toronto. That just looks like a fun city.
yeah.
And then I guess I don't know. I feel like I gotta check out Europe at some point. I've never been there before,
Have you
so.
not? You should
I
come
have
to
not.
England. It's really fun.
I should, but I don't know. I just feel like I'm scared of that flight. It's very long. So that's sort of my hesitation because I don't do well on long flights. I get very t sore and anxious.
You know, that was me on Hong Kong. Like the flight just seemed to never end.
Yeah. And I don't sleep well on planes too. So it's more like me having to stay out for like, I don't know how long the flight is from the US to London, probably like 7, 8 hours.
Yeah, eight
So
hours.
yeah, so that I feel like I'd have to find a way to try to sleep through some of that, which would be tough. Now, speaking of just differences between America and England, so what is one question you have for Americans in general?
This is such an odd question. I mean, sorry, an odd thing, but like we just don't understand why you call trousers pants.
I didn't even know that was like a unique thing. I thought everyone called them pants.
No, for us,
Oh,
pants is like what you wear under your trousers.
okay. I didn't honestly know that. Yeah, I think that's something you just grow up with is just calling them pants. I don't know. It's like us calling your football soccer. It's I guess one of the unique things about the way we call things. So I
Okay.
unfortunately can't answer that question though. I
Yeah.
don't know. I just always call them pants.
And if you said that to a British person, we'd be like, what? That's so weird. Why are you asking for my pants?
Yeah, I know. I like the name trousers better though. That sounds more cool.
Yeah.
I would say my question that I have for people from England is I have a couple. One is obviously Americans think British accents are so cool and unique. What do people from England think about American accents? Do they like them or not?
I think it depends whereabouts you're from. So when we traveled to Florida for our tour in February, I think the Florida is it Floridian accent is really cool.
I just know
But
there's the Southern accent. I don't know. I didn't know if there was like a Floridian accent at
oh,
all.
is there not? Okay, well, that was cool. Like that accent's cool. But then I'll hear like an accent from Texas, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I get it. I get it. What do you think? Like, and but you don't. I feel like you just sort of feel like my accent now is just kind of basic, I guess. Nothing like crazy.
It's pretty like standard American. No, do you think the same with mine?
I think yours sounds awesome. I love the
Really?
English accent. I think it sounds super cool. I don't know why. It just maybe because I don't hear it every day. I sort of hear the
Yeah.
same stuff all the time. So, but I don't know. I think it depends where you're from in like America. Like up in the Northeast, like it's a very sort of like there's some people from like New York. they have a thick New York accent. I've always wondered like what people from England would think about it because it just sounds very different from like a just a
Yeah.
general one.
New York accent's really cool.
Yeah, it
The whole
makes you sound
coffee
tough
thing is
too.
cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's awesome. And then the other question I have for you is like, one thing is that I found cool about America is like a lot of the towns are named after towns in the UK. Do you think find that kind of cool when you come over to America that like everything's basically the same name as England, just
Yeah.
called new?
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny. Like New York,
Yeah.
New Orleans, yeah.
So that's cool. Like there's probably an Exeter somewhere here in the US. I don't know. I just find that
Oh yeah, there probably is. That
I
would be
just think
really cool as
I
well.
just think that's kind of cool. I don't know. But yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now getting back to I guess another question to you is what's your favorite part about England?
My favorite part about England. I probably have to say like the history and culture of it. Um, Obviously I am doing a politics degree, so I have to be interested in some form. But I think we've just got so much classic, like the monarchy and just, classic intriguing things which other countries don't have. That might be really biased and sound really rude, but it's just cool, Like there's so many museums in England where you can
Yeah.
just find out, 100 facts about like a stone.
Yeah, no, that is awesome if you think about like you think about here in the US, like we've only been around for like 300 years, which is obviously a long
Yeah,
time, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not that long compared to places in Europe where things have been around for like thousands of years. So that is that is pretty cool. I would lo love to see some of the historical stuff in England, but I think the first thing that I would want to check out is if there's like anything about like King George III because I find him the most interesting sort of monarchy figure in
really.
history just because he was the king during the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much people from England learn about the American Revolution, but I just find
It's
that
well,
part,
Hamilton. I absolutely love Hamilton,
yeah,
so I kind of have to.
yeah. I feel like that part was really interesting. But no, I totally agree with you. That's awesome. I would love to like see some of the museums and stuff. I would say I've never been to England before, but probably Buckingham Palace. I know that's probably a basic touristy
Yeah.
answer, but it looks like a cool place to like see. So I'd love to check that out and see the guards with the red coats and see how serious they are.
The soldiers, yeah. No, they honestly don't move, even if you like shout at them, they'll just stand there.
I know. Well, I saw if you do get close, like some people do, which is obviously really rude. They like do yell at you to like stand back.
Yeah.
So I would not want to do that, but I would definitely want to see what they're like. That's for sure. Now, if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be?
I said for this question, because I'm just so interested in him and the sport, is Usain Bolt. Because he just seems like such a great character. And obviously we can talk about sport as well. And he's done with his career now. So I feel like he'll be like more cool and chill.
Yeah, exactly. Share a lot of stories as well. Will you race him if
Yeah,
you
I could definitely
hypothetically
race
met
him.
him?
Yeah, maybe he's slow now. I doubt that though.
So for I usually give the same answer for other interviews, so I decided to switch it up and I have to pick someone who's from England to sort of make
Oh,
it.
really?
So my answer I picked was David Beckham. I just think he seems like a cool guy, and I'd love to talk to him
Yeah.
about his fashion style mostly because he always dresses very well. And
Yeah.
then Emma Watson too. She seems really cool, and I'd love to talk to her, especially about the Harry Potter movies. So
Oh,
those would
you're a
be my
Harry Potter
two.
fan, yeah.
I'd love to
Okay.
see those. I love those are my two people from England that I'd love to have lunch with.
Yeah, that's a good mix.
Now, getting back to some lacrosse questions. Now, one question I want to ask you was, what do you think should be done to help continue to grow women's lacrosse in England?
I think it became very apparent at the World Cup that obviously teams like USA, but also like Japan have just put so much money into the sport and they're able to grow their programs. And I'd love that to also happen in England, whether it's, through sponsorship or through like media campaigns, if more investment can be done and, bring in some more coaches and make it more inclusive, then I think the sport can grow so much more.
Absolutely. One thing I heard from someone was like also trying to like teach coaches, like have coaches clinics, because they were saying like how in the US there's so many great coaches, which helps the
Yeah,
players get better. And obviously England has incredible coaches as well, but just continuing to make them better will ultimately help other players just because once players decide to stop playing and they can sort of make that transition to be a coach and they can learn a lot from that and become better coaches like earlier on versus sort of having to sort of learn by themselves, which I thought was interesting perspective to hear.
100% agree.
Now, last question I have for you, Gemma, is do you have any shout outs you want to give and who from your team should we have on the podcast next?
Okay, so I'm gonna do a shout out to my mom, as cringe as it is, but she has been my biggest supporter throughout my lacrosse journey. And this is our kind of like first time apart now that I'm at uni. So big shout out to her. And I think you should have Honor Ashby on the podcast next because she's my best friend, she's my captain, and we had a great time at the World Cup together. And I think she'd love to share her experience as well.
Well, thank you so much, Gemma, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for teaching me more about England and your lacrosse career. It was a lot of fun getting the chance to learn more about that. And obviously, I wish you all the best in your first year with Exeter. I know you're going to do great things with that school. And just have a wonderful day. I really enjoyed talking with you today.
Thank you. You too.